share your gift. Yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah, go and share your gift. Yeah, your gift is a seed. You can easily be the change that we need. Keep your mind alert and fill your heart with peace. Be the change that we want to see. Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of MENtality Unchained. Today is kind of special to me. We're coming up on our actually third year, right? Finishing up our second year, and I kind of wanted to just sit down and chat with my director. And he came in with me about a year ago, and this thing has kind of been taking off. So I really wanted to kind of get his opinion on how things have been going, just to see what's going on in his life, and let's just chop it up a little bit. So without further ado, welcome Alex Jackson.
Everyone.
What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, just working on this and
other
stuff. Yep.
Right. Now I know you don't get nervous on me because you're always behind the camera. And see, that's the one thing too, like you're behind the camera all the time, like, and now you're in front of the camera. How does that feel?
Honestly, it feels kind of weird. Like I actually did a photo shoot with a buddy of mine, Nick Talon, the other day, and I was like, dang, like I'm never in front of the camera, so I don't know what to do. Like I can direct people, but it's weird to like be directed.
Right. I tell you what, man, we've done a lot of good shows this year, man, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done. But like, what's like thinking back and looking back, what's your favorite episode, man?
Favorite episode? I think the one with Maurice West is pretty cool. Yeah. He was interesting individual, very smart, very charismatic. It's why he's a politician.
Right. Right. He's a politician.
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite. Plus, like he had that one little clip of when he was talking about his coworkers or something, like asking him like, "Did you vote on this bill because you're black?" And it's like, yes, obviously, yes.
You know what? You pulled that piece out right away. You was like, "You need to see this." And
that was a soundbite. Yeah,
that was a cool soundbite. And I think too, like I like that you bring that type of stuff to the podcast. It's like you're not afraid to say, "I think that works," and that don't work. Mm-hmm. We hadn't had a lot that didn't work, but you're not afraid to kind of like speak up on that. And I appreciate that, man.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So, when you first started and when you first heard about it, what was your thoughts about coming on, honestly?
Like on like working with you?
Yeah.
I was excited.
Okay.
I was honestly excited because I feel like at least I'm not aware of a lot of podcasts that like have a focus on mental health within the Black community.
Yeah.
And so plus when you're Black, I was like, all right, this is dope. Yep. Get to work with another Black individual.
Yeah, that was cool. So when the first year I had a couple guys, and the actual one that I started with was Jaleel West. And he and I started the podcast, and he always used to say, "Hey, we're not going to do this podcast unless you're the face of it." And I was like, I'm not going to do it. And so I pushed it off because I didn't want to do it, because I didn't feel that I wanted to be in front of the camera either, because I've always been in the background. And so over time, though, I was like, okay, let's do it, because we wanted to get the message out. And I think that was the important thing about really getting the message out. And going through different transition with different people, it felt like when you came in, it just clicked. It's like, okay, this is the guy. This is the direction we're going in. And I was like, okay, now we can actually make some move. And we've been like recording like crazy, man.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome. This second season has been great, but I'm looking forward to the third season. Like, in your opinion, what direction or what's your thoughts on season 3 coming up? What are you thinking as far as how the world is transpiring and how things are happening, the vision that you and I should have?
I feel like in terms of direction for season 3, we should probably really try to get... There's a rooster. Sorry, I got distracted. But focus on very like current topics. Like we were talking a little bit before about like manhood and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mentioned, like, not to name drop, but like Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
And like what he's doing to kind of degress the progress we've made for gender equality, where he's talking to like a lot of these like young men, telling them like women aren't like your equals, like treat them badly. And it's like stuff that is very prevalent, at least in the online world, should probably be addressed by someone who is as I think is unbiased and calm and collected as like you are.
Okay.
I feel like you have a unique voice when it comes to that. And especially like because how do I put it? Like your focus is on, like, it's called MENtality Unchained. Like the main focus is like mental health with the black men, but also like men in general. And I feel like that the young men are becoming victims to this man who's like preying on their innocence.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't start off as intolerant, but someone or experiences like make you that way.
Right.
And this man's coming in and like ruining any chance they might have of being like a well-rounded individual by telling him all this horrendous things.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because initially, well, I would say this is really what the show is built on. Is like you said, the mentality of yesterday and trying to and impute that into today, which is a problem. I mean, not so much of it's a bad thing, but it goes against the progress that we've made and we're still trying to make. And so the premise of the show is MENtality Unchained, to kind of break that stigma, to take the chains off our mental capacity to think that we're stuck or we're in a fixed mindset. And so, that right there is definitely going to be a subject that we're going to definitely approach. And I think going into season 3, the last couple episodes, we're going to start talking to some men about how we continue to progress as men. And it brings our young men up to be men, because I don't want to set back either. Think it affects us in a total different realm, but that's just me. But so, with that being said, we've talked a lot about mental health through the years, and I want to keep that element. But like, from your perspective, what have you picked up on, or what have you kind of gravitated to, or even learned, or even thought about when you do these shows, when you're behind the camera and you're listening and you're like, oh,
okay. Just hearing people's stories. Like, I forgot her name. I can't remember her name, but she had bipolar disorder.
Oh yeah, that's Jeanette Towns.
Oh yes, Jeanette. Yes. Very like touching story. That I was never judgmental of bipolar disorder before, but like hearing the life of someone who dealt with it for years and years and years, it's like, oh, okay, this goes much deeper than I thought. It's not just mood swings. It can like really screw up your whole life. And see how she came out of that stronger than when she went into it was very inspiring. Like my sister thinks she might be dealing with bipolar disorder, so it's like good to know that you can come out of that a stronger person than you were before. Yeah. So that was inspiring to me.
I think one of the things that I would love to keep, in the next season is the real stories. Like I want more of those Jeanette Towns stories, more of those stories that people are actually dealing with it or have come out of it, are trying to manage it, because to be honest with you, we all deal with just different stuff, right? Like, I mean, I'm in front of the camera, you're behind the camera, but life goes on, right? Yeah. And so I want to bring more of those real stories, and I want to really expand as much as we can too, reach a broader audience. But that comes with being creative, having more creative flow, and just trying to do more of that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. But I will say this is that, again, you've been a blessing for this show, but like, what are you doing on your own? What freelances, what are you doing?
In terms of like videography and photography, a lot of weddings I've realized. Recently I started working with the public school system here in Rockford. Yeah. Which is really nice. Like, it's cool. I'd never been in a situation that was like that structured before. Usually if it's like weddings, it's like here's the itinerary, follow this, get some of these shots. But now I'm like, signing all these like contracts and stuff. I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of reading.
Okay.
And it's a longer form project. So we shot one part of it the other day. And then I think when I come back from vacation is when we're going to shoot another part, and then maybe another part later on.
Gotcha.
So it's a change for me, okay. I'd say, to be doing something like that kind of in that scope.
Okay.
But I'm excited to work with them and potentially do more work if they have it for me.
So it sounds like you're getting a lot of variation at this point. Like,
yeah.
You kind of honing your skills a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm realizing as I do more that I am developing my own style too. Okay. Or it's like, okay, like I wasn't sure if it was just like a hodgepodge of different things, but like I'm looking at like footage and stuff and like editing stuff. I'm like, okay, like there's consistency here, so that's nice to see.
When you're editing the show, we don't take out a lot, if any, right? We just kind of keep it raw. Is there a point when you're sitting there and you're looking at the screen and you're editing and you're thinking to yourself like, this could be a big piece, or this could be I need to take it out, or what's your thoughts when you're in that process?
Well, for other stuff, because like you said, we don't take out a whole lot with this.
Yeah.
It's very much trying to find like a central theme or like a story within the video. Like even in weddings, there's like a thematic element to it,
okay,
or a story, and seeing like, okay, like this part is sweet, but it might not fit with what the main crux of the project is. So I have to make the tough decision to take that out. They call it like killing your baby or something like that, where it's like you love it, but you got to get rid of it.
Right. We have had a couple shows like that though, and to be transparent, we have had a couple shows that some of the content, it more or less kind of puts a wedge, I would say, in between what we're really trying to do, which is bring people together. And sometimes we get to the point where we'll say things that will kind of like separate us. And I've always wanted this show to be something that is all inclusive, that everyone can watch, everyone can talk about, and everyone can relate to. And that's the biggest key, is like everyone can relate to. And so as much as I want superstars or celebrities on the show, it does nothing for me. It may does something for the audience, but it does nothing for me. So I like the quote unquote normal, ordinary person, because everybody's not a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And so celebrities get seen all the time.
Yeah.
But normal people, quote unquote normal people, don't get seen all the time.
I feel like it's very important though to like have like normal people on the show, because I was talking with a friend about this the other day, where it's like you get these celebrities who like have an opinion on something. It's like why is their opinion worth more than the people that some of this stuff directly affects? It's like, I feel like, yeah, it's cool that like, just to throw out a name, like Harry Styles said something about whatever, but it's like, like what's his authority? Like he's not, as far as I know, like directly affected by some of the stuff he's talking about. So it's like, and not to say that he's like talking about anything specific, but just like it's a name I threw out there. But I think it's important to give voice to everyday people, not someone who like will sing a song or like show up in a movie or something, because it's like what I'm wanted to see from them is music and movies and stuff like that. Like I don't think everyone, like every celebrity needs to be what's the word I'm looking for? A individual that makes a huge amount of change. It's like they have a job to do. That's what I'm paying to see them do it.
Absolutely.
I get more impact from people in my life who I can directly relate to, who can like talk to me and I can talk to them about these things.
I think that's what makes the show fun for me, is that I get to hear ordinary stories. And I will say that like the last episode we did with the Golden Girls, and I found that to be refreshing. I found that to be fun, because here we have these 4 young ladies that are in their seasoned years, and they're enjoying life. And I'm like, this is what it's all about, right? We should be enjoying life at this point. You know, we have enough going on in all these different countries, in our country. I mean, why can't we just be okay and just have fun for a change? So I really enjoyed that last episode. But I want to say, I don't particularly have a favorite one. I got pieces of each episode that I really like. And so, but I guess this was my favorite because we get to talk about, you know, all the other episodes. So it's always fun to look back. But looking ahead, I want to do more. I want this platform to do more. And so whatever that looks like, I'm open for it, and I'm ready for it. But I tell you what, I don't want people to think that you and I have these special gifts and we're here because we deserve to be here. We don't, right?
Yeah.
We're here because we said, okay, there's something that we think the people need, right? So from your perspective, how does a young man like you go from a thought of editing, producing, directing to now actually doing stuff like that?
Like how do they? Sorry, can you?
How do you go from the thought, the dream, the aspiration to now doing some of the things that you truly want to do?
I think believing that most, if not all, things are accessible to you. I think I watched a video the other day about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, where if you have a fixed mindset, you think like I was born with these, and it's never going to change. But a growth mindset is where you're able to, what's the term that he used? Like you live and then you learn. So it's like you, like anything that you can't do or are not able to do yet, you will be able to with just the proper work and this, that, and the third.
Gotcha.
So I would honestly say just work on it. Like if you don't think you can do it, you're wrong. You can do it.
Right. I definitely subscribe to that model too, because I'm in the middle of writing a dissertation, and so I'm using that theoretical model of a growth and a fixed mindset. And I think that's why I say life kind of like mimics what you feel that you should be doing. And I feel like I should be helping people understand to move out of one mindset into another mindset. Thus, we have MENtality Unchained. We're breaking the chains of being in that fixed mindset to having more of a growth mindset. And it's just simple as like, I believe that I can do more. You know, I'm not, because of how I was raised, the things that I'm involved in, I'm just stuck in that box. But I believe once I get there, I can do more. And I'm just hoping that people start to want to do more. Like, we're in this huge world, and there's so much evil going on. There's so much bad news all the time. It's like somebody shine a light, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot of us that do that in our capacity of work. But at the same time, it's like, it's draining. Like, do you ever get tired of just like trying to do good or trying to do the right thing?
It's definitely stressful. But I'm a huge believer that if you help one person, you help everybody. Because you're just like spreading that like good energy to other people. It's like you're just putting more good out into the world.
Right.
Like it's going to get reciprocated, or it's going to like get paid forward and stuff. So like while it can be stressful, like it's definitely worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, cause if you can do something to help someone, like there's virtually no reason not to.
Gotcha.
Like at all. I can't think of a single good reason to not help someone who needs it.
Gotcha. That's a great way to look at it. So in what you're saying, and people getting to know you because you always behind the camera, like, who is Alex? Who is Alex Jackson? Like, tell the people, who is Alex?
I'm 24. I am obviously a videographer and editor. I like to think that I work pretty hard.
Okay. You do, by the way.
But yeah, like I definitely care about people. Like I want to know people's stories. That's why it's so interesting. Like usually sit behind the camera, like listening to someone tell their story. And I just like to get to know people. Like it's like probably entertaining is not the best word to use, but I guess fulfilling is a better word to use. Like fulfilling things to do is just like to get to know someone and get to know their story.
Right.
Because like I have moments where I'm like driving by and I'll see someone in the car. It's like they have a life like just as intricate and complex as mine.
Right. It sounds like you're interested in people and all just people in general. Yeah. I think we all have a story to tell. Like we have actual story to tell. Not it's so nonchalantly put when people say, oh, I got a life to tell. I got things that have happened. Yeah, that is true, but can you really tap into that? And I think that's like when I'm sitting across from someone, I'm really trying to tap into like what makes you who you are. Like, and I'm trying to think and come up with these questions to say, you know what? I think that's a good person. Now let me pull it out of them. And I think that leads to why I don't have notes. I don't want anything planned, right? I want people to be able to hear the raw, uncut, because at the end of the day, we're not perfect. And so we don't live in a perfect world, right? So why should I put something out there that's perfect? Why should I have something so neat and tight? And like, are these perfect people? No, we're not perfect people. So, and so that's what I try to do. But, even with that being said, it's like, what's your most inspirational thing that you've heard on one of the shows?
One of the shows. Nothing that's coming to mind immediately. There's probably definitely something, but nothing that's at the forefront right now.
Gotcha. One of the things that comes to my mind is I say it all the time at the end of the show. And I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe I need to say that at the beginning of the show or in the middle of the show, because at the end of the show, just in case someone don't watch it. And I'm like, but one of the things that I'm always inspired by is what I say at the end of the show is that we all have the ability to change our circumstances only if we focus on what we can change. I don't know how, if people understand that concept. Is like, if you focus on what you can control, everything else doesn't matter. Because if it's out of your hand, who's going to fix it? You can't fix it. So, I really believe that. Like, if we just focus on what we can change and stop focusing on all the things that are out of our control, and that includes people, because it bleeds over to us trying to control significant others, boyfriends, girlfriend, friends, and and so when we stop doing those things, I think that we'll be able to more deal with some of the problems and the things that come up in our lives. So that inspires me every time, because I really truly believe it. So, but with that being said, like, do you feel like we're making a difference?
Definitely, yeah. I've noticed, and I'm looking at just numbers right now, but like I'll like see on like TikTok, like following TikTok, by the way, like that the numbers of views is going up.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so like he's reaching a broader audience now.
Right.
And like while there's still like a ways to go, like before we reach like a huge number, it's like still it's nice to see that there's growth happening, like more people are affected like in a positive way by your content. And I'll read some of the comments too. It's like, okay, like they're enjoying this.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to talk about that too. It's like, sometimes I do get discouraged, and I'm gonna be honest. I do get discouraged because when you start out podcasting, you don't think about the work that has to go into it. You don't think about the patience you must have, because you see all these other different podcasts and they may have the means to promote it or market it a lot more and things of that nature. And then you get on certain platforms and you got, this person has 10,000 likes. And you're looking at it, you're like, wait a minute, there's no content there. It's just a person looking into their phone. But I'm putting out this content and I'm getting like 200, 300, 400. And I'm like, this is a long process. But if you love it, like I love it, I'm willing to keep going. And then I'm not doing it for the likes, but I want people to know about it. I want to spread the word. So I will be honest, that kind of discouraged me early on. It's like, okay, I want to get the audience. And when you're not getting the audience as fast as you think you should be getting it, it is discouraging. But though that separates the ones that truly want to do it for the other reasons than just getting likes.
Yeah.
So, and we talk about promotion and marketing and things of that nature, and even sponsorship. Will help grow the podcast. But right now, we're creeping up. Now we're moving. We're getting more comments. We're getting more involvement into the podcast and into the different platforms. And so I'm thankful for that. It's the saying, be thankful for the friends that you have near you than the ones you don't have,
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful for the audience that we do have and not worrying about the ones that we don't have. So
one of the hands worth two in the bush.
Absolutely. Now, see, you got an old soul, because that's something my grandmother would say.
That's what my dad says.
Yeah. So, but even with that though, man, like let's you and I get a little personal here. We won't get too personal, but let's get a little personal here. Like, what are some of the challenges that you've had within the last year, even like dealing with podcasting, your freelance stuff, and like bringing it all together, still trying to have a productive life, still trying to socialize, still trying to do all these things. Like what kind of challenges have you had?
Probably setting realistic boundaries for myself and realistic expectations,
right?
Because just because there's 24 hours in a day don't mean you got to use them all,
right? Right.
So I'll work in the morning, run and do some more work once I get back, and then maybe go back to another shift, and then be like, okay, now it's 11 p.m. Let's go see my friends. It's like I should be in bed,
right?
Because I got to do the same thing the next morning. So just setting boundaries and realistic expectations for myself is something I've struggled with in the past year, and I'm thinking I'm starting to get better with it. Where I'm going to bed the same day that I wake up instead of the next day, which is definitely improved my mood. Like I woke up at 6 a.m. yesterday because I went to bed the day before. I'm like, I feel good. And I did more work, but I didn't feel as down about it. I didn't feel like I had to do it. It's like, okay, like I got the energy to do it, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I think that's been a challenge for me as well. Is like is trying to balance things, not only boundaries, but trying to balance. Balance in school, work, family, podcasts, doing seminars. Just the balance and boundaries, like you said, of everything is like, if we're not careful, we'll overload ourselves. We'll overload ourselves till we think we truly do have more than 24 hours in a day. And we're like, man, if I had more time. Well, if you had more time, that'd be filled as well. So, and I'm trying to get better at, finding myself a routine, because I get to bed late and I'm up early, and, and so it wears you down. So that's kind of like the challenges I've been having this year, trying to keep the podcast up and then deal with the other things around me. So I totally agree with you with the boundaries, but then also I would add balance to it. So what do your parents think about like what you do? What were their reaction when you told them that you wanted to go to school and do videography and get into this field?
They're pretty supportive, because I had even from a young age, I'd always been interested in doing movies and videos and stuff. Like at 12 years old, I was making stop motion movies for class projects and stuff.
Wow.
So they always kind of knew this is what I was gonna do, and so they wanted to cultivate that and let me grow in that. And so I think they were pretty excited to see the progress from where I was then to where I am now.
Gotcha. You know what? You're in a field though that a lot of people feel that they have to be in a bigger market.
Yeah.
What's your thought on, not being in a bigger market, wanting to be in a bigger market, and the obstacles of getting in the bigger market?
It's a little intimidating trying to break into the industry just because it's so competitive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have kind of like a personality to them that I feel like they kind of cultivate, or like an ego that can make it hard to work with other people, especially when it's such a collaborative thing to have to like make a movie or like a video. Like you got to work with other people, and it's difficult if someone is being difficult. But I actually had a talk with my friend the other day about I just like making films in general, and he said like I don't think I want to be famous. Like I like just the process of making it, working with people that I like.
Right.
And the more I thought about it, the more like, you know what, like that's kind of me too. Like I just like creating things, like showing it to someone, and if one person sees it and they like it, that's all I really need.
Yeah.
So I'm not super keen on the idea anymore of like trying to be famous, because like I don't even think that's what I want. Like at the end of the day, I just want to be happy, whatever that looks like. And if it's making videos for like or short films or stuff like that 30 people see, I'm good.
Yeah. See, and I'm kind of like that too. I'm like simple like that, because like the fame and the celebrity stuff, it doesn't excite me. I mean, my wife used to get on me about concerts. I don't go to concert. I just don't see myself standing in front of someone singing or rapping or playing to me, you know.
Yeah, it's like, why'd I pay $60 for this ticket when I could listen to it in my headphones? Like
exactly. And so I think though, like in podcasts and any type of media, when you're out front, it's kind of hard to balance like the humility versus the fame and the celebrityism, because at the end of the day, if you're out in front where people see you, they're going to make you to be this celebrity and this famous person. But at the end of the day, I'm like this, I just want to keep making content that can help people. It's like our conversation, if that can help someone, I'm all for it. And that's what I love about it. It's like, you know what? I'm starting to really dig this thing, because if I get 5 likes and they like it and something changes in their life, I'm good. I'm good, because, you know, you can only help one person at a time. Even if you do it in a group setting, it's up to them if they want to catch on to what you're saying and what you're putting out. So I'm all about making great content. I know you're trying to do, you know, get into the short films and things of that nature. And that may be something that we need to kind of talk about, how we can bring that to the forefront where people can see it. You know, that's something. And I think, too, that's another thing that I think we need to branch out to other projects. I think that's probably this season 3 as well. It's like, how can we add some different elements to the podcast? You know, I don't want to ever be pigeonholed and just be in one thing or just this and just that. I never was the type of person that would just get to routine and just say, okay, that's my thing. You know, I like variation. I like change. I like different. I like all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's something more we can do in season 3 as well.
Okay, I'm excited about that. Yeah.
So we're gonna put our creative juices together and see what we can come up with. But like, I would love to get more people on the show that can be remain authentic. You know, I want the realness. I want the rawness. I want whatever they have. You know, like I don't want them coming with a prefabricated story. You know, I want the authentic them. And I think that's really like hard to find nowadays. And I don't have too many people in my Rolodex or my cell phone now that I can say, you know what, they're going to be real with me. You know, not to say that the ones that I have is some people just don't want to put their stories out there.
Yeah, you know? Especially in front of a camera. It's
absolutely,
like difficult. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think people understand the difficulty is to be in front of a camera and talk about your shortcomings.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that's difficult. Like, okay, who's gonna see this? You know, I don't know if I should say this, that kind of stuff. You know, so it's really tough. So hats off to them that are brave enough to come and sit in that chair that you're sitting in and tell their story. So I love that part of it. But I want to keep going with this, but I want to also transition back to the mental health piece. Like in our region, in our city, like what are you seeing when it comes to the acceptance of mental health? Like, do you see people like really starting to step out and speak on it, accept it, or what do you see?
So I guess I don't get out a whole lot recently, because the environment that I have for myself, is pretty accepting of it.
Okay.
Where, like, I know, like, I work a lot at the place I work at, but every now and then it's like, hey, like, how are you doing? Like, actually, like, are you doing mentally? Like, do you need anything?
Yeah.
And like, obviously you're a mental health therapist, like, you're asking the same questions.
Right.
But even before that, though, I saw an acceptance of mental health as a kind of like it is what it is sort of thing, which, like, that's not how we should be thinking about it. Like, I was at a Black Lives Matter protest, and I saw this woman who was, I'm not sure like what she had going on, but she obviously wasn't like mentally well, because she's in front of all these people, and she's talking about like just the oddest things. Like, she's talking about how she's like a time traveling president, and it's like people are like kind of cracking jokes about her, like laughing at her, and it's like something's not right with her. Like, she, like, I appreciate that she's like out here obviously like protesting with us, but at the same time it's like she's not in the right state of mind to be in front of people. And especially if we're asking for Black Lives to Matter, she is a Black life. It's like, why are we to some extent like ridiculing her when she's obviously like got something going on?
Wow.
There's another time when I saw another woman who was in front of a Black Lives Matter protest, and she was dancing, and like stuff was falling out and stuff, and it's like, oh, that's just it's like, come on now, like, she needs help. Like, her Black life matters. Like, she may not be being brutalized by the police, but she's being brutalized by the healthcare system, because she should be in a facility that's getting her some treatment, and she's not there. Like, why is that?
You know what? Let's expound on that a little bit, because I think the context in which you just view that in, I don't think we'd see it. I think if you're not being violated and brutalized like you're saying, then you're no longer saying Black Lives Matter. But if you see a person that is not mentally healthy, then we don't see that as Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, what are we thinking as people of, I guess, healthy people mentally? Why are we not like saying anything or speaking up or standing up for people like that?
I think at the time that the Black Lives Matter was happening, like the 2020 after George Floyd was killed, social media does what it does best and kind of turn it into a trend. So it's very much became Black people versus the police.
Gotcha.
Where that's the main focus. If it's not about that, it's not really getting talked about. And it's sort of, and it kind of breaks my heart to see, but like you get people like trying to make merch off it, trying to like trying to promote their like social brand and whatnot. It's like it's not about this anymore. And I kind of became discouraged with the movement near the end of it, because it's like you're not here for the same reason that I am. Wow. And because you're so much at the forefront, I'm one individual, it's like maybe I shouldn't be here, because it's not about Black Lives Matter anymore. It's about like, what can we do to promote ourselves or promote our brand or whatnot. It's like, okay, let me take a step back.
Yeah, I did see that change, that shift as well, is that it no longer became about the actual people. It became about the the e-commerce of everything. It's like, how do we make money off of this? How do we promote this? And how do we put ourselves out there, right? Into the celebrity state or this fame state? Because now, we're capitalizing on our social justice, but is it truly that?
It's like there's be some times when people start chants, and it's like, I don't agree with that. Like, people are saying like, only good cop is the dead cop. It's like, I don't think that. Like,
right?
I'm a Black individual.
Right.
Like I don't think that.
Right.
And it's just, it was hard to see.
I know, and you know what though, that does mess with your mental as well. It's like knowing and that people actually think like that. It's like, the premise of Black Lives Matter is that Black Lives Matter, right? Not no one else's life don't matter. It's just that we're the ones being attacked and violated at this point. And so we're letting you guys know that we matter too. But at the same time, it's like, we're not going to ostracize or push a certain demographic away because we feel that we're more important. It's like, why can't we all be important? And so that's not the case. And even to the point where, and a lot of people won't like this, but if we're fighting against the police, if we're fighting against injustice of black people, well, why are we not fighting against our own people that are fighting against us?
Yeah, you do get. It was the weirdest thing with the protests is I would see black people on the opposing side spitting back rhetoric that's like, do you actually believe this? Like, it's weird to see these words coming out of your mouth. Like, it's almost an oxymoron.
Yeah. And so, you know what? And so with that too, I want to get more people on there that can speak to that too. Like, I don't want to make the show about race. I want to make it about being mentally healthy, and all of that encompasses that. You know, the treatment, the mistreatment, the segregation, the outliers, all of those things culminate to affect our mental health. And so I want to really, really hone in on that in the third season, and hopefully everybody be ready to go along for the ride with us, man. Because I think that we have something to say, and we're gonna say it, right? But I tell you what, though, for the audience that's listening out there, is that, you know, the people is what's important, and what's affecting their lives. We want to offer some type of outlet by way of telling truth of other people that have either dealt with that or been through that. And so I feel like if we can continue to do that kind of stuff and stay true to what we really want to happen, then I think that we'll be in rare company and doing the things that we want to do. And so I will also say that this third season, that I'll announce it on here, is that you'll be more involved in other stuff other than just behind the camera. Other than just behind the camera, because I think that we need flavor, we need youth, we need the back and forth of opinions, you know, because I'm older and you're in the younger sect, but at the same time, I think we still have that mindset of moving forward, the growth mindset. But I also think that there are different things that we need to see from different avenues, because I don't see it the way my grandparents see it, and my kids don't see it the way I see it, you know, so on. And so at the end of the day, we need to be able to bounce information off of one another, and find ways to help our people and expand that way. So, but that's what I would like to do.
Okay.
All right.
So
before we get up out of here, because I want you to speak to your age group, like, what kind of advice do you give to people in general? I don't want to say your age group, but people in general. What kind of advice would you give them?
I'd say, like, get out, like, talk to people, like, get to know people, because a lot of the interaction we have nowadays online, and you're only getting what they want to show you. So, like, getting out and, like, really getting to know people, like, know that there's nuance to everything, that there's gray areas to everything, because I feel like if you understand that, you'll be more just accepting of a lot, or how do I put it? You'll be more accepting of a lot of things that might get put into a black and white category. Like, you'll understand, like, oh, people make mistakes. Like, there's this, that, and the third. And I just feel like it makes you, like, a more rounded individual to, like, talk face to face with someone, because that doesn't happen a whole lot anymore.
No, it definitely. I mean, we're still living in time. COVID is still doing what COVID does, right?
Monkeypox is on the rise.
Yeah, and so it seems like one thing after another keeps happening. It's like it's as my grandmother would say, trying our patience. It's like really testing you to see what your resolve is. It's like, are you going to be able to withstand the things of the world that are happening and be productive, be positive. And I think that's the greatest thing that we could ever do is just remain positive in a world that is ever changing. It's not always changing for the better. And so presidents go and they come, leadership come and go, and you never know what you're going to get in leadership. So we're coming up where the question is, will Joe Biden run again, or who's going to run against him, and or is he going to be able to beat him, or we don't know what's about to happen. And not to say that even Joe Biden is the best president, or everyone has their woes when it comes to being in leadership. So, but I said all that to say is that, like, we just got to stay focused on being positive, stay focused on provoking change, stay focused on having a direction. And I think that's going to be really important for us, is to make sure that we're intentional and we have a direction. And I want to be more thought-provoking in our episodes moving forward into this new season, because I don't want to just put anything out there, right? Anyone can sit and just talk to people, but put substance out there, something that means something to people and something that people can learn from. And so that's what we're going to do with season 3. We have, I'm thinking, we got 2 more episodes before the season ends. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I thank all the audience for sticking with us and subscribing and liking. And please don't forget, go to YouTube, go to Spotify, go to Apple Music, go to TikTok, go to Instagram, subscribe, like, tell your friends. And we're just trying to do the best we can do, right? We're not trying to do anything that's not true to us. So I just want to say thank you guys in advance, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you for coming, Alex. You didn't have to, because you could have stood behind the camera, but we worked it out, and you came, and I appreciate it, man. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody before we get up out of here?
Can I do the sign off?
Yeah.
We all have the ability to change our circumstance so long as we focus on what we can change. Good night, everybody.